Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to One Piece, episode 977. So we are finally back with the current day stuff. We have finished off the flashbacks, and we have a new intro to celebrate. Well, a updated intro. Excuse me if I'm breathing heavily too, by the way. I just ran up and down the stairs to do laundry. But yeah, it's the same intro as before, just with a couple changes to the visuals to show off some new stuff, including a certain son who is coming, and I am excited for. Can't wait till he appears. I don't know when he's going to appear though, and I don't want to know like if you know based on like when the chapters had it happen. Don't spoil it for me if you know who I'm talking about. But we're going to be raiding Onigashima, and I presume that we're going to figure out how to get everybody there, considering the bridges were destroyed and everything due to the trader, who, again, at this point, I'm thinking it has to be Kanjuro. With all the information we were shown in that little, during the flashback and everything with, Orochi, it's gotta be. It's the only thing that makes sense. It's funny, whenever I forget Orochi's name, I remember it by literally thinking in my head, Shogun. Because for some reason, I always remember his name that way, as Shogun Orochi. So if I ever forget Orochi, I just think Shogun in my head, and it just instantly comes to my mind, Shogun Orochi. But yeah. So it's gotta be. If not, then Oda definitely made it seem like it was gonna be, which it would be a valid thing to do, to throw us off and everything. But that definitely seems like the best idea right now. And if it is Kanjuro, and my theory that I had last time about him faking his lack of drawing skills is correct, it's going to be a very good, well-handled reveal. Because even if I guessed it beforehand and everything, it's like Oda still handled it well in the series. It was still well done, and it's not something like, until the idea of this traitor is even brought up, you would ever think of. There was no reason to ever suspect Kanjuro. But as we found out, the traitor was deep in cover. That was the entire point. The traitor was supposed to get in deep and truly become a retainer. And he succeeded. No matter what, we know it's a he, because that's how he was addressed by Orochi. So we know for sure it's not Okiku. Unless this is one of those cases where they're trying to throw us off and going with that entire thing because Okiku is trans and stuff, but I don't know. I don't think it's Okiku. I think that I don't think Oda would go quite with that. And again, I can't think it would be anyone else based on the information we were shown and given. Because we were shown that bird was very specifically how the traitor was getting the messages to Orochi. And the bird, again, it didn't look right. Something about it looked off in the way it was drawn compared to everything else. And I think that's the point. I think that's, I don't know if it looked that way in the manga, and with the black and white, it might, even if it was drawn a little differently, it might not be as apparent instantly. But if this is the case, that would make the most sense for it to be Conjuro as well, because of, you know, his devil fruit. Which, again, that's another hint. We saw the devil fruit during the flashback while Orochi was talking to the traitor. So that's another big hint. Everything just adds up. I don't necessarily want it to be Conjuro. I don't necessarily want it to be any of them, but it's the only thing that really makes sense. And if this is the case, will the traitor, Conjuro or not, reveal themselves during the raid? Or what exactly is going to happen with that? I wonder. We know that the traitor is a member of the Kurazumi clan as well. A former actor, which is why they're so good at this deep cover. There's a lot of big information. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm just finding connections where there are none, or just trying to force the idea. But it's the only thing that makes sense to me at the moment. I can't see how it would really be almost anyone else. The only other retainer I could reasonably think it could be would be Raizo. But I don't think it is Raizo. I think there's more evidence for it being Conjuro. Again, though, maybe that's just me. But yeah, talking back about that flashback set of episodes, those were fantastic. Like, I don't know exactly how many episodes offhand they were. I could go back and check just through my thumbnails, but it was a notable break, especially at that time with what was happening from the main story. But it, as I had said before, it really helped develop everything. And that's what Oda does wonderfully in One Piece. With all these flashbacks and stuff, he helps develop the characters and the stories and the political situations of these different countries and locations and all. And the world building and the character development and depth is just so on point every time. And he did wonders in this one, because it's not just characters directly related to this arc, but to the entire series. When you have like some depth added to the likes of Roger and Whitebeard, it's a big deal. And I love it. So I'm very, very excited to see where this goes now that we're back in the current day. So let's just find out. Let's not waste any more time and get on with it. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, two things. One, real quick, I counted based on the thumbnails, because I make the thumbnails usually in between recording the reaction and the afterthoughts. I checked based on the thumbnails, and it's just under 20 episodes for that series of episodes that were all based around the flashback to Odin and Roger and all of that. That was just under 20 episodes, which for a normal series would be a lot of episodes. Like, that's almost an entire series. Or for some shows, that's more than an entire series. Like, almost double an entire series, depending on the show. But for One Piece, which has almost 1,000 episodes, it's just a flashback sequence. But what a fucking way to return to the present. This was such a dynamically powerful episode. And it was a turning point, and I can see now why Oda put that flashback sequence where he did. Why he put that almost 20 episodes, I assume almost the same amount of chapters, at that point in the series. Because considering it's just before the raid and is just before Oda plans on revealing who the spy is, as well as the big, like, team up of the worst generation here. It makes perfect sense now why he would want to bridge that a little bit with a flashback that expanded upon everything that we've seen in this arc so far, that we've built up through previous arcs, and just again through the series as a whole, with stuff with Whitebeard and Roger and yada yada yada. It's just been this big world building, character building, just iconic set of episodes. And so having that happen exactly at the point it did, and coming back to this right away, is a genius decision. Because it's like you just went through this arc in and of itself. All of this shit that happened with Odin and Toki and Orochi and everyone else in these flashbacks. All these huge, big moments that just reshape the entirety of this series. And then you come back and right away, you find out who the traitor is among the Akasaya Nine. You right away see Luffy, Law, and Kid team up to basically give a big middle finger to Kanjuro and the Beast Pirates, and by extension, Kaido and Orochi. And the raid on Onigashima is about to begin. And it's just like this big triumphant grand moment. Because even though we have the traitor, and even though we had a big aspect of the pain that these samurai were feeling, finding out that someone who they had not only trusted and known for so long, but had legitimately loved and cared for, not only was a traitor, but was leaking all this information to Orochi the entire time, is the reason that Odin was captured and killed. It's like, yeah, that's going to hurt. And despite all of that pain, the episode ends triumphantly. Because although Kanjuro enacts his plan with Orochi, the reveal plan, which apparently was a thing now, we still have a kink in the bad guys' works. We still have our heroes coming in to save the day. Even if Kid is not quite hero worthy, he's still helping out. And it's wonderful to see. It's just genuinely a really dynamic episode that shows the lowest of the lows, but also the highest of the highs. The most depressing, heartbreaking, just betrayals, but also the most exciting, intense, hype moments. And it doesn't feel unnatural. It doesn't for a second feel like it doesn't combine properly. It very well fits together because Oda has written it in a way to where it has to fit together. And that's one thing people always praise, and I always praise about Oda, is that he puts together this stuff so far in advance. And while not everything is thought about in advance, I mean, the supernovas themselves were only thought about like last minute. But so much of this series is planned out in advance, and so many things come back in the most unexpected of ways. And it's like the way that things are set up so that even the seemingly smallest of things inform what's going to happen next. It's brilliant. And I think that's really exemplified by the fact that it was easy enough for me to figure out that Conjuro was the traitor, that he was the spy. Because at first, like earlier on, I was unsure. I was unclear. There wasn't really a lot of evidence, so I was just basing it off of the retainers themselves, based on what we knew of them. But then when we started to get evidence and everything, it just all started clicking together. Everything started making sense. Again, the bird seemed off in its art. I don't know if that was in the manga like that, but if not, then the animators just chose to add a little hint there. Something about the way that bird was drawn was off compared to the rest of the art in that episode. On top of it, we saw a devil fruit in the flashback. So we know that the character in question, the spy, has to have a devil fruit. And it's just like everything just started clicking. Everything just started making sense. And you start like thinking about how else it would work. And it's just like, yeah, no, this would work. And it's like Oda set up those seeds so that you would be able to get it like that. So that it would all come into place and click for you. I think you're supposed to figure out who the traitor is through those flashbacks with Orochi, rather than actually be surprised by it being Conjuro here. And again, I don't know how it's done in the manga. I don't know if it's the same, but at least in the anime here, that's how it feels intended. And I think that's brilliant. And it continues to show why this is my favorite series of all time. And it's just like, this is only the beginning of this section of Act 3. We haven't even begun the raid yet. All of this that happened in this episode was still just preamble. And that's exciting in and of itself as well, because once this raid begins, God, it's going to be epic. We're going to get to some real intense shit, I just know it. And there might be deaths. I mean, Wano has had deaths, like actual on-screen character deaths. So I would not be surprised if characters died in this. Good guys and or bad guys. And I would not be surprised either if something really bad went down and things just went really wrong. We'll have to see. I can't even begin to guess what at this point, because anything could go wrong. But at this point, it's so exciting. And I've talked about this before. I've mentioned before how Wano has easily become my favorite arc in the series, actually beating out the likes of Dressrosa and Arlong Park for me, or even Whole Cake Island, which was fantastic. But Wano has easily surpassed them, not only because of its aesthetic, which is just insanely beautiful to me, but the story being told is so fucking amazing. So absolutely stunning. I can't help but acknowledge it as my favorite. And it's still just kind of starting. We're really just starting to get into the meat of this arc. We're in Act 3 and it's still just feeling like it's only beginning. And that is exciting. That is what really hypes me up for a series. when you've been going through it, but it still feels like you haven't really gotten to anything yet. And One Piece does this all the time, constantly. And so now we have to wait another week. The one downside to being caught up, while you get to see the episodes as they air and aren't as worried about spoilers, still worried because of the manga and everything, but not as much so. Um, yes, hey, I have to wait a week between episodes, and it's like when you're used to, like me, used to watching like 4 episodes at a time per week. It's like that wait is killer. But again, super happy to be caught up nonetheless. And now it's just a matter of what's going to happen next and how this raid is going to go down. So, let's find out. We shall find out as we continue on next week. But tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode. And what did you think of the reveal? Were you able to call it beforehand? And if you've read the manga, let me know how that was done in the manga. Was it pretty obvious as well in the manga, even without like the coloration of everything, kind of helping inform the differences in the art style of the bird and whatnot? Tell me your thoughts on that and more down in the comments below. But as always, no spoilers. Especially considering the shit that's definitely about to go down. I do not want to know anything going forward. I already know about one character coming, and that's enough for me right now. No spoilers, please. And I think I've mentioned it before. I don't even know much of anything about them. I just know that they're coming, and I know the very, very base information. So yeah. But like I said, no spoilers otherwise, and tell me what you thought of this episode and the events within down in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.